Well, hello there, everybody. Now, welcome to FilmSnobbery Live. This is your host, Nic Baisley. I am joined by co-host Jerry Cavallaro. Say hi to everyone, Jerry.
Hi, everyone. I liked your little hello there. Sensual as we started.
You know, I like to really get to know my audience in a very intimate way. I want to welcome everyone to the show. We've got a great show, jam-packed, full of things to talk about. We had a great guest on the show today. We're continuing Screenwriters Month here on FilmSnobbery Live. I see that we've already got a very, very active bunch of people here in the chat room. Jerry will be taking questions from you and passing them on to me over the course of the show. And we've got so much stuff. One of the things I wanted to hit, because everyone's already here, I want to hit at the top of the show. I want to remind everyone that Tilt is having Tilt the movie. Phil on Tilt, Phil Holbrook's movie and Kings of Fink, Julie and Jessica, their film Tilt, is having a live stream extravaganza Sunday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Look for the link on it on their the Tilt Facebook page, and you can join in there. Hopefully I'll be able to get in there too. I would love to see what they're up to. Always great things. I know they just did another kind of big maneuver with Tilt the Town, and I'm really excited to see kind of what they've got up their sleeves. I want you guys to definitely stay tuned. Later on in the show, Jerry and I have a bunch of stuff we want to talk about. We're going to rail on a few things, which I know you guys all love. So we decided to Christmas is going to come early. Actually, Festivus is going to come early, because now we're going to air our grievances this week versus next week, because this stuff is a little bit more timely. We wanted to make sure we got everything out to you guys ASAP. So we've got our Indiegogo project of the week we're going to talk about, but first I want to just say, if you guys see me running kind of back and forth in and out of frame of the camera here, our director Ryan is not able to make it this week. It's just one of those things. It's crazy around the holidays and he's working, so it is what it is. So I'm going to be running back and forth to the production computer to do more all the scene changes and stuff like that. I do want to make mention of one more quick thing before we get started. We got a new bit of posterage here on the FilmSnobbery Live set. I want to thank Zach Forsman and the folks at Sabi Pictures for hooking us up with a Heart of Now poster. Look at it go. It's beautiful. I also want to thank Zach. Zach was actually the first person to submit to our FilmSnobbery Live Presents A Day at the Palace screening series with Heart of Now, and I'll be watching that soon and passing judgment. Right now, if you guys are filmmakers out there and you want to have your film screened, at a FilmSnobbery event out, in the latter part of the year, we're booking now for April on out. And I just want to say, go to screenings.filmsnobbery.com. You can throw down your $10 just for the processing fee. Really, all that is it's to do two things, because I had a couple people ask me, why are you charging anything? It just comes down to advertising costs and just a little bit of deferment for that. I mean, you take into account the average film festival submission, of usually like around 30, 35 and up. We're not really trying to make money with what we're doing. It's more about just covering costs, and there are costs, believe me. Our event insurance alone for the year is a little bit of cash, and it's tough when it's all coming out of your pocket. So anything you guys, anything that we can have coming in to defer costs is always, something that we can reinvest back into making the events the best that they possibly can be. And I think that $10 is, for what is ostensibly a free screening event for your film is more than fair. So that being said, I want to talk again. We're here with Screenwriters Month at FilmSnobbery Live. Our first guest back at the beginning of the month was Mark Andrushko of Scriptapalooza.com, and we did miss a week. Unfortunately, I had a power outage here at the studio, and I was not able to go live. What I did do, however, was, if you guys missed it, I did an early morning kind of show It was on a Sunday morning. It was like from 3:30 to 6:30 or something like that. And I came on and we all chatted, and it was awesome. I want to thank Zach Forsman for being there pretty much the entire time. And I want to
thank you to that, Nick.
You weren't there. It was just an impromptu thing, man. You weren't even online, or at least I didn't see you online. So otherwise I would have said, come on up. But anyway, that being said, like I said, we got a lot of show. Let's delve into it. Our guest for this evening is a screenwriter of the movie The Cursed, and also a author of Horror Screenwriting, and also a longtime FilmSnobbery watcher, tweeter person, and I can't thank him enough for his support and also his support being here on the show. I want to welcome. Well, when we get back, I got a clip to show, but when we come back from that, I want to welcome Devin Watson to the show. But first, we are actually going to show the trailer from the movie he wrote, which is going to be actually on television on the Sci-Fi Channel this Sunday. So check your local listings for that, for the actual time. But The Cursed will be on Sci-Fi on Sunday. We're going to talk about that a little bit. First, I'm going to run over here and I'm going to show you the trailer for it. We'll be right back with screenwriter and author Devin Watson.
Small town.
Welcome to Tennessee.
I'm here to write a book on southern towns. Where is everybody?
A dark history.
What is it?
It's a more detailed history of the county. It goes all the way back to the Civil War.
When a stranger
Hello?
has been waiting for you awakens 100-year curse.
Man! Told you 100 times not to be in them woods.
Evil is unleashed.
It's a thing. Not a person doing this.
What the hell do you suppose I should do? Put out an APB for a blur?
What do you see in there?
It's blood, man.
That's something I never want to see again in my life. I think I have a lead on this thing. It's not the first time this thing's been seen before.
You must release me.
But if this thing is what's killing all these animals and all these people, why didn't it kill you?
You know, I'm curious. I'm coming into town and all these murders start happening that very night.
You think I want to believe that there's some kind of creature out there that killed my friend?
On the edge of darkness.
I saw it. What is it?
It's a curse. Curse like no one.
They must join forces.
Well, we got a big problem here. You bring your pets indoor before dark, God's sakes. Yourselves and your children, too.
And face the ghosts of the past. Costas Mandalore, Brad Thornton, Louis Mandalore. The Cursed from Tricoast Worldwide.
Ladies and gentlemen, Orson Welles. Devin Watson. Hi, Devin.
Yes, you're even better frozen.
Nice, sir. So I want to thank you for coming on the show. I'm really excited to have you on. I've been wanting to do something with you since I read Horror Screenwriting, the book you wrote on screenwriting for horror. So thank you for taking the time. I appreciate it.
No problem, no problem.
So let's talk a little bit about horror screenwriting. Not only the book, but the format, so to speak, the genre. The book Horror Screenwriting: The Nature of Fear. I really enjoyed it because I think that writing horror is a really kind of specialized set of skills that you need for screenwriting. In as much as it's not easy to write horror well. Yeah.
Really easy to write it bad.
Yeah, it's very easy to write bad. What are some of the things that you, as a horror screenwriter, you wrote The Cursed? What are some of the things that like your book is really kind of covers for filmmakers?
Well, it starts off with a history of horror because as I was piecing together the material for the book, it became kind of obvious that people didn't understand that horror's been around since, well, as long as mankind has been around. And it's just now, when you're seeing it in film format, it's become its own art form. And that's really what I try to cover in the first chapter, was just a history of horror film. And even in the introduction, I do a lot of background into, hey, this stuff's been around for a while. As a matter of fact, the first horror films were just based on older stories before we had, some original stuff that came along.
Now, do you have a few horror favorites yourself from both a visual and a writing perspective?
I would say yes. The movies that I usually go back to say that have some kind of a visual impact. One of them is Alien, the first Alien movie by Ridley Scott. That one really sticks out in my mind as having a very unique style that was ultimately copied quite a lot afterwards. And also Poltergeist, just because it's extremely scary to someone, especially someone who doesn't like clowns. If you're afraid of clowns, don't watch that movie. But also, just if you think about it, nobody dies in Poltergeist, yet it's extremely scary and it's considered violent. They even actually almost got an R rating, but they managed to get them down to a PG.
Well, you can't censor Coach. You can't do it.
Yeah.
But and it's funny. Poltergeist, not the first Poltergeist, but Poltergeist 3, when it came out when I was a kid, was actually the first horror movie that, for some odd reason, I don't even know why, but for some reason, it was the only horror movie I've ever taken myself out of the theater for, because I was scared. Why I was like 7 and watching Poltergeist 3 in a theater with my parents, I don't know. But that seemed to be it seemed to be what I was into at the time. When you go through the list of horror directors, I mean, you have Wes Craven, John Carpenter, you have there really is so many. I mean, even some of the movies that some of the other mainstream directors like Steven Spielberg had made could be Jaws. Could be considered horror, or what's the difference in your mind actually between horror and thriller?
Horror takes it to a twisted level. It takes a thriller and really just turns it and twists it around to the point where it's practically bleeding. I like to compare it to, it's basically like a German expressionism with a mix of surrealism thrown in, because there's just all these weird things going on that just kind of defy the natural order of things when you see these things happening. Like the chestburster scene in Alien, it's like, nobody expected that to happen. Oh man, what is this? This is just not natural.
Mm-hmm.
It feeds on a psychological, there's a few different psychological underpinnings to it that we all have as humans, where it's something unnatural. Cronenberg is a master at that, where he plays upon the fear of loss of self, loss of control, something else taking over your body. You're referring to the Fly? The Fly, yes. And one of his earlier ones, I think, was Shivers.
Oh, yeah.
Where basically, they call him like the king of VD, just because a lot of his stuff is very much sexually related as a disease, but it's all these really weird diseases that he comes up with that are just real interesting what they do, and it can shake you to the bone, because you're dealing with something that's unnatural, but it's, okay, this could possibly happen. You hear stories about different things happening in anecdotal stuff, people telling you stories, and like, oh yeah, well, I saw a ghost, and it was really evil, and it was drooling, and it was basically chasing me around the house or something. It picked me up and threw me against a wall, or something like that. You have all of these various things that all point to the unknown. We fear the unknown. We don't understand. We can't figure it out. And sometimes the answer is just way beyond our current comprehension. And that's what really makes, that's the mechanic that helps make horror really work. Good horror.
Now, when you're writing horror, I mean, there's definitely a lot of ways to a lot of ways to tell the story. There, you know, and especially when it comes to the scares, you know, the beats. There's a lot of different ways to write it. I mean, there's the build-up, there's the kind of the you know, using a lot of times you use audio to punctuate the scare. A lot of times, sometimes it's just something coming out of nowhere. Something, you know. Do you have a preferred? Is there anything about horror writing that annoys you when you watch it on TV or in the movie theater? Are there any particular, you know, like kind of things that they, you know, the writers rely on as kind of their scare tactics that just annoy you, and you're like, you could have just done it this way and gotten such a much more pure scare out of it?
Yeah, a lot of times you can actually see the setup coming. I can see the setup coming when I'm in the theater or I'm watching a movie at home, and I just know what's going. I can just see it coming a mile away. It's like you could have done better to cover that up, and you know, you can still establish the setup, and then you have the payoff later, but you don't have to be so overt about it, or as I would say, on the nose. That really, the case in point, Event Horizon.
Yep.
They had basically it was a cheap scare. It was at the very beginning of the movie. They're on the ship. They're getting ready to go into the stasis chambers, and the setup was one of the guys is trying to get his bunk cleaned up, and the captain just kind of says, you know, you better get that cleaned up and locked down, or otherwise you're going to find yourself walking home. And I said, oh God, something's going to happen with that. And yeah, of course, he gets out of the chamber and he's walking along in his little nightmare, and he walks right by the little bunk area, and then all of a sudden, bam, it just pops up, and it was already like half open anyway. But all the other ones are closed, so it's like, okay, I can see what's going to happen. But,
and do you think that that's a mistake of writing or a mistake of the cinematography and production?
I think it's a little bit of both. Cheap scares are good just to get, you know, if you need to rattle the audience, just get them shook up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They're still necessary, but I think the execution of it was probably about as good as it could have been done without just being even completely overt. But I really think, you know, they could have played that better. They didn't even really have to have a little bit of dialogue right there, which established, like, oh yeah, he's not, you know, stowing his bunk right. They could have just taken that line out completely, and it probably would have just gone unnoticed by a lot of people.
One of the things I really liked about your book, as I was just thumbing through it while you were talking again, just because I wanted to just double check a couple things, is that you kind of also give the reader not a template per se to start from, but you kind of start a story with them and then ask them to finish it. Have you actually gotten any submissions, or have you gotten any feedback on the story that you actually set up in the book that's the example? Have you actually had anyone, you know, finish the story?
I have not yet, and I'm actually really interested in seeing what people come up with for that ending, the second part of the second act all the way to the third act. I'm really interested in seeing how other people try to solve the problems that are set out in it. When I started writing it, I was taking a cue from Lou Hunter, because he did the same thing in Screenwriting 434. The only difference is he wrote an entire script throughout the book, and my thought was, okay, that's great, we'll get you started, but I want you to think, and I want you to try and come up with the most inventive ways you can to get out of these situations that I put these characters in. And then, hey, you can send it back to me, and I'll take a look at it and see what it was like. You know, I actually wanted to get a contest together at some point, see who can come up with the best ending to the script itself.
That would be kind of cool. I would love to see. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. I don't fancy myself a screenwriter at all, but even I was compelled, and I felt like, oh, you know what? I think I want to take a stab at this. It's really, I liked it because not only was it an interesting plot that you had started outlining, but, you know, it had good characters, and just kind of it just kind of had an overall aesthetic that matched the rest of the book as being quality. I was actually, one of the things I really was surprised about the book specifically is that there are a lot of screenwriting books out there, you know, some of them from, you know, names that we all definitely know, some of them not so much. This is probably one of the better written books out there, specifically from an accessibility standpoint. You give the, like you said in the beginning, you give the history of horror. You kind of break us into the genre a little bit. Then from there, we go over a few basics. But the basics aren't so basic that you feel like you're being talked down to. And that was another thing I really was impressed with. Like, I was able to read this book and not look at it as an instruction manual, so to speak, but I was actually read it almost like it was prose, and like it was a you know, like in as much as like it was a regular novel, and you know, regular book. I felt involved in the book, and almost, you know, felt that there were almost characters, because you kind of it's just the style of writing. It was very conversational, and I enjoyed it. You know, we have a lot of different, you know, I have a lot of different books here that, you know, a couple of them on screenwriting, a couple of them just on movie making in general, and I found Horror Screenwriting, your book, to be one of the most accessible ones. What I guess where I'm going with the question on that is that when you're writing a screenplay versus writing a novel, writing a short story, writing anything, how big of a mind shift is it for you to go from writing a screenplay, which is mostly character and plot driven, versus writing something like this, which, yes, there's plot, but it's less. It's less getting from point. Well, you would think it would be less getting from point A to point B, although that's exactly the journey you take us to. What's the difference in writing there, you know, between the two?
Well, at first I thought, hey, this is going to be easy, and then as I got into it, I said, well, it's meta writing. It's writing about writing, so it's and then as I come to find out later on, one of the rules is you really don't want to write about writing. Writing about, it's like process films. You don't want to see a movie about making movies because for some reason they're just bad. But, well, not all of them. I think some of them, like The Big Picture with Kevin Bacon, was actually a pretty good one. But same thing. I think of it as like it's a process book. Prose I really like because you can just go all over the place. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there was actually a ton of material that I kept saying, well, I should really put this in, or should I? I should leave that out for right now. And if there's like a second edition or something like that, I can shove more in. But that was what was kind of surprising me, is even when I finished, I was like, is that it? I mean, did I really cover everything? It's like, well, yeah, I did.
Well, and that was the other thing, too. I mean, you look at the size of this book here, and then you look at the size of, I have Tom Lazarus's Secrets of Film Writing, and then I also have, let's see here, hold on. No, hold on. Here we go. Sid Field's Screenplay, The Foundations of Screenwriting. Yours, the Sid Field's book and Tom Lazarus's book, roughly the same size. Your book, probably about quarter to a little over half the size. And I got to tell you, I actually felt that, and please, if the audience thinks that I'm really just kind of going overboard and just, you know, just overpraising, I normally wouldn't. But the fact is, I actually found your book to be more informative in a shorter period of time, or shorter page count, than the other books. Sid Field tends to write in a way that is like gives you homework. Secrets of Film Writing, Tom Lazarus writes in a way that is more almost putting a mirror up to the industry as a whole, and in showing, basically learning from either the mistakes of others or just kind of being a bit bitchy about the industry and breaking in and getting stuff done. Yours is more about let's have a conversation. It's more like that conversation you have when you sit around, you're a few beers in, and it's just like, and you start talking about the craft of fear and screenwriting and evoking horror as a genre. And I really thought that you talk about, you just said a little bit about going between screenwriting and prose and all that, how when you're writing prose, specifically a book like this, it's meta writing, it's writing about writing. The funny thing is that it's just very, very accessible, and I just very much enjoyed the conversational aspect of it. It didn't get like really didactic about the industry and being like, okay, well, this, that, and the other. It really stuck on topic, and that is, I think, one of the reasons why it was such an easy read, number one, but also because you were it's so succinct, and actually, like, I have a question that relates to that. When you're writing a screenplay, do you find that you write more succinct, you know, right off the bat? Do you end up doing a lot of drafts? Like, how many drafts of The Cursed did you do before you got to the shooting script?
We got, I think third draft. We were on a third draft, working on that. We made some small alterations during pre-production, but didn't really go much further than that because the third draft basically had the meat of everything. I think succinct, and that's kind of like really how I like to approach things, even screenwriting or just writing in general, saying more with less. The original first draft of The Cursed was only 74 pages, but now when we're going through pre-production, and in the end, the third draft didn't come out much more than that. I want to say it was probably about 86, 87 pages, and I thought, God, this is going to be a really short movie. And it turns out like the rough cut, the original rough cut the director did with the editor, came out to something like 117 minutes. And what I've been going back over in my head over the years about that, and I'm thinking, well, that's probably the way I write. And yeah, I do chop down a lot. I wouldn't call myself a minimalist, but I do try to avoid a lot of expositional stuff in my scripts. I try to avoid saying it 10 words, which you can say in 5. Mm-hmm. Go and really knock it down. Kill your darlings one adverb and one adjective at a time, and just really try to work it in and get what eventually becomes something that's very information dense. It's really incredibly dense. So even when you're reading only 74 pages, you think, oh, this is going to be short. And I found people blaze through everything that I write very quickly, and yet they're like, wow, I felt like I just went on a real roller coaster ride.
Yeah, no, your book took me from when I started. I read fast anyway, but when I started it, I think I finished it in 2 days. I think I read it in 2 separate occasions, and that's with even digesting what I read. And you're absolutely right. You do kind of fly right through it. And if your scripts are anything indicative of what's in here, I can see that. We had a couple people in the audience here that were also saying, because we mentioned a couple other screenwriting books, and they were mentioning some of the things that they really liked, and one of them that came up was Save the Cat, by Blake Snyder. And it was funny, we wanted to do a whole kind of retrospective on him on last week's show, in lieu of a guest. Kind of he's the in memoriam kind of guest. But one of the things, reason why I bring that up is because you guys, your publisher, that Michael, is it Weiss Productions?
Michael Weesey, I think.
Is it Weesey? Yeah, I look at it and I'm just like, I don't know how to pronounce that. It's either Weiss or Weesey. But you can go actually check out their website over at www.mwp.com. They're also the publisher of the Save the Cat series, aren't they, if I'm correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Blake was, I didn't know him personally, but he was actually a big motivation in. I got very little input from the publisher as to how to write or what to write, but the one thing they did mention was really make it like Save the Cat, because that's one of our best-selling books, and it seems to be really popular.
Interesting. Well, we actually have a couple of questions here from the audience. The first one is from Zach Forsman. He actually says, what do you look for in a story that makes it worth telling? What keeps you from thinking, so what, at the end of it?
Okay. Usually it's a story that I ask myself one very important question. If it's a script, is this something I would actually want to see on a screen? But I want to go to a theater and shell out $8, $9 or $10 to watch this, and usually you can tell pretty quickly. That's my litmus test. Would I really want to see this?
Okay.
on a screen.
And we do have another question from our friends Julie and Jessica, collectively, Kings of Fink, here in the chat room as well. Who does you feel, will most benefit from your book? New screenwriters or experienced ones who want to try out horror?
Somebody who has never written a screenplay before and is not familiar with the format might find it a little difficult.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody who has probably, I want to say probably intermediate level,
okay,
that maybe has written at least one screenplay.
Now, what is the difference? Is there a huge difference from writing, say, a drama to writing horror in terms of things like the act structure, the beats, even character development? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, a lot of people in other books or other discussions will try to say, it's all about the character journey. It's about your 3-act structure and getting from point A to point B. Especially if you read the Sid Field screenplay book, he is just kind of the biggest thing he tries to tell you to do is everything is very mechanical in the way he lays things out, and so everything follows a format to get from point A to point B to point C. Do you feel that holds true in, say, horror screenwriting as much as it would in drama or any other genre?
I'd say it does still hold true. The one thing that you run into these days is that you see a lot of horror that comes out that doesn't have has very little, if any, character development whatsoever, or a character journey or an arc. That's the one thing I kind of lament, is that a lot of horror has become very watered down these days, and it doesn't really doesn't resonate as much with me, at least. And I'd love to see it get back to really doing that, because you can. I mean, if you look at, like, say, The Fly, the Cronenberg remake of The Fly, you got really emotionally involved, drawn into Seth Brundle's plight. That here's a guy who's basically disintegrating in front of you on the screen, and when he comes out and says, "Help me, please," you realize this guy's really banged up pretty bad, and he's got problems.
Yes, problems is an understatement. Yeah, the biggest problem was The Fly too. Do you feel that, I guess one question of taste, this is more from a cinematography perspective versus screenwriting, but do you have a feeling one way or another when it comes to horror, as far as the imagery is concerned, rubber monster or CGI?
Rubber monster with shadow. I really like that idea. That was played out very well in, of course, Alien. You never saw the whole thing, and what I like to do is I espouse the idea of what I call the audience special effects budget. The audience's imagination has a bigger budget than 50 ILMs put together.
Okay.
And you don't have to show them everything. You just have to show them a little bit, and it has to be just enough to really make them uncomfortable. And
from you mentioned Cronenberg, and I mentioned a couple films as well. I mean, and actually, now that I think about it, that same thing held true for the most part, as far as not showing stuff and it still being effective as a rubber monster, so to speak, in Jaws. The only time you actually saw Jaws was about 3/4 of the way through the movie, when we're going to need a bigger boat, and so that little scene, even then, it was just half the shark coming out of the water. The rest of it, you really didn't see anything, especially in that opening scene, which was really effective. When you are writing, a screenplay, are you envisioning the movie in your head as you're writing it, kind of like like you're watching it in the theater finished, but it's up in your in the mind's eye, the theater of the mind, as it were? Do you see that, and how often does that match up with what actually ends up on the screen?
I do actually. I call it my mental movie theater. It's what I see in my head, as if I'm just a guy sitting in the audio, touching it on the screen, and when I'm writing, this is what I see on the screen. I know it's probably a lot of people can't or don't do that, but it's actually a lot of fun. I also call it being a fly on the wall, like as if you're actually in the scene, but you're just a fly on the wall watching what's happening. And as far as things looking exactly the way I envisioned them, there were a couple of parts which I think were cut. They might have gotten cut out of the curse, where they were almost exactly the way I pictured them in my head. The only difference was the frame was reversed. And I attributed that to the director being right-handed and I'm left-handed, and the way I always see everything is probably from exactly the opposite point of view.
We actually have another question from the audience as well. Zach Forsman comes back and asks, how many scripts have you produced, and how many of these did the filmmakers screw up? What mistakes do you typically see when they're translating it from script to screen?
Well, I've got, right now, I have 4 that are in various stages of production.
Okay.
I've got one that's, of course, The Cursed is the one that actually came out. In terms of what they did to mangle it, The Cursed, let's say, what was on the page and what was shot, I would say, there's a big disparity in some of the stuff.
Okay.
That mainly came from the director, I think, wanting to try to do a certain kind of story that was a little bit different from what the script was actually trying to tell. And when you deviate like that, like you're in the middle of production, it's like, okay, you're stuck, because once you shot everything, unless you want to go pay for the movie all over again, you got to go back and just use what you got. And I think they did a pretty good job of piecing it together to make sure that at least was pretty close to the original idea of the scripts, and actually the script itself.
Now, when you're selling a script or just collaborating with a filmmaker, I don't know specifically how you generally do business. Sometimes on independent films, the script and the way it's done is, here's my script and we'll work out a deal in the back end or something like that. But however it's done, how much input do you generally ask for when it comes to working with the director to ensure that this thing that you have your name on is at least comes out somewhat respectable? I mean, to be fair, at least regardless of any flaws that The Curse might have, it is going to be on Sci-Fi this Sunday, and for something to get on TV or in a theater or something like that is that's a feat. That's something that I think everyone should be relatively impressed with. I think that even regardless of the quality of a few things here and there, I think that at least getting someone to distribute it and buy it in that position is that that's an impressive feat. How do you make sure that the things that you're putting your name on turn out to be something that you want to be credited with? And have you actually ever had to turn down a job or change the name on the script or anything like that because you were just like, yeah, I can't be associated with this?
I have turned down some jobs that were rewrites of other people's scripts just because I didn't see any kind of a story there. I didn't see any kind of, I want to say, just, first of all, it was really badly written to begin with, and I didn't want to get into a project that I knew was just going to crash and burn. Sometimes you develop an instinct for some of these things, where you can see what is going to happen just down the road, and you just want to try and give it a wide berth. And in terms of keeping control, it helps if you're a producer also on material. Of course, that also means you're pretty much trying to get funding on your own and everything. Another thing is, if you're also directing what you write, then you have all yourself to blame if it doesn't come out the way you want it to.
Cool. Now, we do have another question from the audience, and this time from another person who's not Zach and not Julie and Jessica. Studio Althea actually asks, why horror over another genre? Is it just because of the experience in writing something like The Cursed, or do you kind of just prefer horror over other genres, have more to say about it?
Well, I think horror to me, it's what revs my engine. It's what really gets me going, because you can get away with some things in horror films that you just can't get away with in any other genre. I mean, like I said, I think I said this once on Twitter. I said I could do things in a horror script that if I did them in real life, I would get thrown in jail for.
It allows you to have your inner serial killer come out a little bit.
Yeah, you get to explore a lot of sides of yourself that you don't really let out very often, or if at all. But you also get to find out some really fascinating. You got to have a bit of curiosity about the macabre. You really have to look into just the darker side of human nature and just find some kind of fascination with it. Like, I have a friend who is very much obsessed with serial killers and studied abnormal psychology and things like that, who was eventually, she wanted to get into doing profiling, but she kind of backed off from taking it on as a full-time profession, but she still pretty much, she likes serial killers like some people collect baseball cards.
And they actually have serial killer baseball cards. So, yeah, I have a friend who collects them. I want to thank you again, sir, for coming on and sharing with us horror screenwriting, the nature of fear. And I actually really felt that you captured very accurately specifically the nature of fear, but also kind of what makes something scary. And Devin, I want to thank you for taking the time and not only sending this to us so we could check it out and review it. I really did enjoy it. I don't have enough good things to say about it. Or rather, I have too many good things to say about it, I should say, because not having enough would mean that I've ended. Yeah, that's the trip part about speaking with anyone who's an author or writer or something like that, is when you start saying stuff and you realize some of the things you say all the time are just completely grammatically incorrect. Also, like, I'm sure that as a writer, when someone says that's so ironic, that must really hurt you when it actually isn't. It's just funny. Or coincidental, but I want to thank you for coming on. You're welcome to stay on the line with us, but we do have the rest of the show to get to now. Is there anything else, real quick, before we end the interview portion of the show? Before we say this is the time on Sprockets when we dance, that you'd like to talk about, real quick?
No, I think that's all we got right now. Excellent.
Well, I want to definitely tell everyone to follow Mr. Devin Watson on Twitter, twitter.com/DKLON. I just say Declan, or Declon, either one. I want to, do you have a website out there that we should plug at all?
Let's see here. Let me put it in the chat.
You're going to put it right in the chat. Perfect. Tappity tap tap. Moviepartners.com/blog. Excellent. Well, I want to thank you again, and I want to say thank you for being one of two of our final guests of the year, because we're coming up to the end of the year, and I want to. We're closing it out strong. We're bringing the A game. That's why we bring in Devin. So thank you very much for coming on, and folks. If you enjoyed the first half of the show, you're going to love the second half of the show, so don't go anywhere yet. We got a little bit more to talk about. First thing I want to talk about is I want to go and talk about our Indiegogo project of the week. I actually got it I got an email from the producer, the writer-producer of this particular, and he's also an actor in this movie, and I got to tell you, he said, hey, we're trying to raise money. We're on Indiegogo. We would love it if you featured our project. And, for reaching out, I had to give him props for reaching out and for, using resources. And then I watched the trailer, and I laughed, because it was both good and bad and funny and awesome all at the same time. And they do have quite a bit of a lofty goal. They're trying to raise $10,000, and they've got 20 days left, and they're not even to $1,000 yet. So we really need to ramp that up. Even if you're just tweeting or Facebooking about it, I think you'll like it. The name of the movie is Lake Cop 2: Ripple Effect. I actually have the trailer. They actually have a fake trailer that they did for $500 for this movie, for what they did for $500, I'm so psyched to see what they could do with the 10,000 that they actually have out there for the pledges that they're looking for. But here's the cool part: if they reach the $10,000 mark, they have a private donor that will actually match the $10,000 pledge, so they'll actually have $20,000 to make their movie. Really, really funny. I'm going to show you the fake trailer for Lake Cop 2 Ripple Effect. Right now, when we come back, we'll just I'll give you the URL for that, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, and then we'll move on to the fun part of the show, because we got some grievances to air to you people out there, specifically a couple of people. So we'll see you in a couple minutes. We'll be right back.
From the producers of Lake Cop, Breakwater, comes a new chapter. In the greatest saga of all time.
His name's Roderick Fisher, all-star Lake law enforcement officer turned vigilante recluse.
We need you back, Roderick. Lake needs you.
Told you, Chief. I'm done with fresh water.
It is written that a man will emerge from the water and bring justice to the people.
And you think this is true?
I know it's true. I wrote it. I'm finished! Dry land only.
What happened to Roger, the hero? What happened to Roger, the lake cop?
You got your head stuck in the ground, Rod. Open your eyes.
I can't open my eyes underwater. I need to use goggles.
It's Salazar. He's building an army, taking over the lake. This time it ain't no joke.
Everything we do in life ripples throughout time and space.
Salazar strikes again. This time, Lake Law Enforcement Officer Marilyn Willis.
Last night, one of our local lake officers was kidnapped at gunpoint.
This summer, one man will fight the tides of injustice and enforce the lake law by breaking it.
It's time. He's not even being paid!
Lake Cop 2, Ripple Effect.
All right, folks. Now they did that for $500. I would love to see what they could do with 10 to 20 grand, because that was cheesy and awesome all at the same time. So if you guys want to check that out, you can you can go ahead and go to Indiegogo.com/LakeCop2, the number 2. You know, look, we always say, if you can't give money, give some time. Send out a tweet, send out a Facebook request, Facebook status update, and also go ahead and try to just get the word out to your peeps on it. It looks like something fun. Whether you have a newsletter or whether you have a you just know some people that might give. Please go ahead and do something for them, because it's cool. They're located in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, which leads me to believe that that water that they were in must have been very cold. So a lot of hard nipples on that one. So And they actually really have some cool perks. They've got tons of videos. I mean, they really went the distance in creating like an entire world for this. They've got some they have another mock trailer. They have they have some behind the scenes stuff, interviews that are fake and cool stuff. It's pretty cool. So. Yeah, Conrad Steve says Shrinkage Cop 2. So, yeah, let's see here. Well, we have some other stuff we want to talk about. I know that we're probably going to go a little overtime tonight, and I apologize, but we really. We really had some stuff we thought was timely that we really wanted to talk about. Jake Steller says, and now he's going to yell at us. Yes, you threw me off my game. So what we're going to talk about, that we're going to start out with, when I say we, I got Jerry Cavallaro, co-host Jerry Cavallaro, in on this as well, because we like to let him talk occasionally. We let him out of the cage, and when he has something to say, and when I have something to say, and
so that way you can deflect any heat that you get from people complaining about your rant.
That's probably true. That's probably true. Yeah, no, Jerry's the one who said that. You blame him.
It is his voice, clearly, even though my mouth was moving on screen.
He's a master of ADR. Waterhole movie. Nathan said, Jerry Lives, my new horror script. Hobby44 says, where's the Waterhole poster? The Waterhole poster is right there. You can just see it out of frame. But what we're going to talk about now actually is another post that was put up. We bitch about this guy a lot. I want to preface this by saying that I do have respect for his body of work. I just hate the stuff he says online. And I don't know if it's just he says it specifically to draw controversy or to, whatever, but it just really grinds my gears. And the funny thing, too, is it's crap. So I'm talking, of course, about Ted Hopeless. And I'm talking about his new list, Brave Thinkers of Indie Film 2010 edition. Now, he did one beforehand and last year, and included some stuff there. And look, there are some people on this list that I'm friends with, people that I work with, that I know. But the fact of the matter is that a lot of the stuff that's on this list really upsets me because A, they're not applicable. B, it's nepotistic. I think that's a word. I just don't appreciate the glad handing and the back patting that goes on with stuff like this. I hate lists in general. This one in particular, again, is another one of those things that angers me. And a lot of it, comes down to, like, he'll sit there and he'll talk about, brave thinkers, Adam Chapnick, CEO of Distributor. We've had Adam on the show. I love Adam. My thing of it, though, is that, the reason why he was put on there seems to be is because, and the reason why a lot of these people seem to be on is because they write for hopeforfilm.com, which is Ted's website. And that, that bothers me just because it seems like, why include a list of just, it's all your friends? That to me doesn't seem like a credible list. Not only that, a lot of the people that I feel that are on here, not that they're not good people, not that they're not doing cool things, but I don't really consider them to be brave thinkers. Some of them I don't understand why are on the list at all. Adam Chapnick, Distributor. Distributor was great. Distributor got bought out by Indiegogo. Or merged with Indiegogo, however you want to say that. Anyway, so there's that. And Kingsfink, don't talk about this list if you don't like them, make your own. I don't want to make my own because I don't like lists like this. And Phil says, what if I was on the list? If I was on the list included with this group of people, I would have a problem with it. I still would. Easy to say rather than, I'm not on it. Has nothing to do with my position of, do I feel that I should be on it? No. You look at the...
Number 11.
Yeah, number 11 is Rainn Wilson. I'm sorry.
No, that's
Sorry,
number 10. I was saying you're number 11.
Oh, I'm number 11. Yeah, no. No. Rainn Wilson is on here, though. I'm sorry, he's not number 11. He's at the end. He's number 19.
Oh, wait, there's more than... I thought it was 10 thinkers.
I thought so. I thought there was a... Yeah, I thought that it was... No, it's just the Brave Thinkers of 2010.
Oh, I thought it was the top 10 or whatever.
Yeah,
okay,
see.
well, you're whatever the last... You were just short of the list.
Right. Well, Brave Thinkers of Indie Film, and it specifically says Indie Film, and Rainn Wilson is included on there. And the guy couldn't be any less indie if he tried.
Well, produced the movie, and...
Exactly. And look, there are things on here, like Yancey Strickler and Perry Chen, the founders of Kickstarter. I like Kickstarter.
It's been around for more than a year, though. That's not new. Kickstarter's not new. Shouldn't this be the new stuff of this year? What happened in 2010?
Well, I agree with that, but not only that, the other aspect of that I would say is that Indiegogo was first, so why is... and I'm not saying that because they're our partner or anything like that. I feel they're a superior product or service. Why are Yancey Strickler and Perry Chen, why are they put a step above versus, whatever? I mean... Because
they're more publicly known, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, but...
And
Studio Althea says something really interesting here in the chat. She says, how does one think bravely? And I agree with that sentiment in as much as it's much... Thinking will get you nowhere. Doing is what gets you places. I've thought about doing things.
I had a really good thought last year. I had a really good idea, but it didn't work out. But maybe I should be on the list because it was a really good idea. Like it should be like the brave doers, like saying.
I mean, look, I don't necessarily, I just don't. Devin says, do or do not, there is no try. Classic. And look, I hate to continue to bitch about this particular person, but the problem is that read the damn list, people. Everyone that is on there for the most part is either a professional acquaintance or someone who writes or works with Ted Hope. To me, doing a list that just has your friends on it, I might as well sit there and make a list of like my top 10, the top 10 greatest, most innovative independent filmmakers that I know. And it would literally be like, if I were to do something like that in this manner, the way that Ted did, it would be like, it would be Jerry Cavallaro. It would be Kings of...
Make the list.
Yeah, it would be like Jerry Cavallaro, Kings of Fink, Phil Antill, Zach Forsman. It'd be like all my friends, which would be which if I were to make something in the style of like a Ted Hope, and that's what all of his lists are. If you go and look at anything that guy does and puts out there that's like a top 10 or whatever, it's just him and his friends. It's a huge kind of elitist kind of club that I'm sitting there I'm trying to wonder why Sherry Candler's on there. All right, I'll go out there and say it. I don't know why Sherry Candler is on that list. I don't consider her to be a brave thinker of indie film. I find that she's someone...
Is it her job to promote other people's brave ideas?
You would think so, but she's too busy promoting her own. You know what, though? I don't know. I just... Zach Forsman, I write for his blog but didn't make the list, feeling really low now. Look, I'm sorry. Sorry, Zach, I didn't mean to make you feel bad. But look, the fact is that, I just, again, I respect his body of work and his ability to get stuff done. I don't appreciate him poking his nose where I feel, and this is my opinion, this is, my show, my opinion, where it doesn't belong. Look, all right, Kings of Fink says, Sherry's been fun and helpful with us. I would love to know what she's done to actually help you. And I'm sure you have things you can cite, please feel free to. But I don't understand certain things and certain things about certain people without getting too far into it. Yeah. Anyways.
Well, let me just say, you were saying before, like, about Sherry Candler, what makes her a brave thinker, though? To the people defending her and saying like she gave advice and stuff, that's great. But a lot of people in this industry, you give advice to each other all the time. What specifically makes her one of the top 19 people in the entire industry of giving advice, like in terms of like her brave new ideas? Giving advice, helping people out, that should be what everyone does.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's yeah. Anyways, look, I know I'm not winning any favor from stating my opinion on these particular people or this particular topic, but at the same time, I think that a lot of people are looking to, they're in the boat, they're on the water, they're looking for the beacon on the shore, and I'm not saying that has to be us. I actually prefer it wasn't us, and the reason why is because when you start getting that kind of attention, there's expectations that come with that, and there's also repercussions that come with that. And the problem is that when you start to what I feel is blindly follow people, regardless of career achievement, and just everything that they output is genius. And I see that a lot. I see a lot of things that come out, and it's just heralded as genius without being vetted of what the actual content of that is. The problem I see with that is that it's just I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it, and I'm not saying that we're doing anything better than anyone else is. I'm not saying anything derogatory again about Ted's career. Love his career. I love a lot of the movies he's produced. But when he starts getting into that talk about indie and giving advice to people that aren't in a position to benefit from it, or will never be in a position to be in his good graces to be affected by it, that's the time when I start having an issue. And when it comes to other people like Sherry, look, I have issues with her. Some of them are more private than others, but there are reasons why I disagree with her, A, being on the list, and B, just in general. Not saying that she hasn't been nice to me in the past, but nice to me and nice to the people I know and work with are two different things. And also, not only that, actual professional experience of being effective are two different things as well. So anyways, well, and Kings of Things says, Kings of Things says, Nick, honestly, you're the person I've heard talk about Ted's list the most so far. I think most people glance at it and move on because we've got stuff to do. Everyone here is a doer. I see no lemmings, and that's a fair statement. But when you go to, like, say, the website, or you go check out different things, you do see the comments. There are some people who, I don't want to call them lemmings. I would just say that there are some people who are not as concerned with free thought as others. That really sounds horrible, and I apologize, but that's really what it is. But yeah, so anyways, Studio Althea, I appreciate your opinion on this. I might not necessarily agree. We might not necessarily agree, but I respect the fact that you have an opinion as well. Anyways. Oh, by the way, Dresden Dolly's here. Thank you. Now, we do have something else that we want to talk about. Jake Settler, Nick, my 16-year-old son Caden is creating a poster at school focusing on film snobbery. Well, interesting. Anyways, good luck with the poster. Hopefully you're not being graded on it, because if it was something, if it's on film snobbery in general, like Film Snobs, then that could be cool. If it's on us, oh no, you'll get an F. Believe me. But we got one other thing. It's one other little bit of bitch fest that we're going to throw out there, and it has to do with a video that I watched online earlier this week as well. You guys again might say, well, that's your opinion. You're right, it is. But I want to address it because I feel that the video in particularly validates a lot of my concerns, and I do feel affects you as both an industry and as creative artists. So I wanted to bring it up. Is Adam Daniel Mazzei, the PMD for hire, put out a video. For those of you guys who want to look it up, it's on Vimeo or on his website or whatever. You can go. It's number 160. What'd you say?
I'll throw it in the chat.
Please do. And and so what we have, Kings of Ink, is there a show next week? Yes. So there was a video. It's number 160 in his kind of daily series or semi-daily series. And it focuses on why you should hire and pay for a PMD. My opinion on this is that, first of all, PMD is not a job. For any of you guys who are, have an opinion on that, that's completely separate. That's my feeling. It's not a job, number one. It's really not. I find it as an excuse for filmmakers, but that's beside the point. The point is that if you watch the video, a lot of what it says basically says that I'm not going to work for free. In an industry where favors are traded and a lot of people do work for free or at least work on deferment, I think making a statement like that, while bold, is kind of shooting yourself in the foot a little bit. And also basically it goes over why they won't work for free and why they shouldn't. And a lot of it comes down to some of the things I've said before, which is, look, we're going to work on a lot of projects and we're going to do all this other kind of stuff, and we want to be compensated for it because we got to live. Well, you know what? Directors, writers, actors, actresses, they all have to live too, and they all have to make money. But sometimes you do things because you're passionate about them, and sometimes you do things because it may advance your career in the future. When you get to that particular when you get to a first of all, he talks about his colleagues and the history of his profession and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, dude, your profession's like a month old. Get over yourself. And your colleagues, all 6 of you, don't necessarily constitute a separate industry. I don't agree with the attitude of the I know that he's trying to create a business model for himself and for his so-called industry, but the fact of the matter is that you're working within a creative space, and you're not working in no one wants to work for free. I don't like working for free. Oftentimes I do. Yes, do we all have to eat? I agree. And I think that good work should be rewarded. But I think that putting yourself in a position where you're not first of all saying you're not exclusive to a project and then demanding money specifically for the type of work you're doing, to me seems like something. It feels dishonest. It feels dishonest. Anyways.
I took issue with that he said. He claimed in the video, he said, if you expect a PMD to work for free, you're mistaken. I'm paraphrasing here. But he's just like, we do too much work, we can't do it for free, you'll never get good work. In this industry, presumably indie film, you'll never get good work for free. And that's absolute bullshit, because there are tons of films all the time that have done favors, that have done people working on sets for free all the time. Great work. I have a friend. He does. He's a gaffer. He's really good. He works for free. Like probably 90% of the jobs he takes, he's working for free. He's excellent at his field in film. And most of the actors in my film, when I did Stuck by Chuck, I paid my lead actors, but Jocelyn didn't know she was getting paid. We never went over, we went over briefly in the beginning, but I never talked to her. She did the entire film thinking that she was doing it for free, and then when I gave her a check on the last day, she was shocked. She was just like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah." And she did the whole film under the impression that she was working for free, and I still think she's a phenomenal actress. I thought she did a great job, and she thought she was working for free. So you can get some amazing work from people, especially in this industry, and you don't have to get paid. With PMDs, I think they should get paid based on the profit of the film, because their entire job is marketing the film from the beginning, from when the film is still getting made to when it's released. They should get a percentage of how well they do their job. You should get a percentage of the profit. You don't have to pay them throughout the process. all the money should go into the filmmaking process, because that's also my issues with SAG, but I won't go into that.
Yeah, and you know, I think that when we talk about free versus paid, again, I am of the mind that if you do good work, you should be compensated for it. But Jerry and I were having a quick discussion before the show about it, having, you know, especially in a position like PMD, where your job is to promote and sell the movie. Your pay should be based upon the degree and how well you do your job, not of give me a flat fee, give me money, and I'll see what I can do. I have so many issues that I'm going to put aside with the position itself, but getting to that actual dollar question should be based on merit and based on performance versus based on just like give me money because that's my job. And you know, especially with a position that is just starting out. Think about when you graduate from high school. You have no experience in anything, and you go for your first job. You know, your first job is, you know, obviously when you work at a company, unless you're an independent film, apparently, you get paid. But generally, you get paid minimum wage. You get paid, you know, an entry-level salary. And as you progress and as you do better in that industry or in your life, you know, whether educationally you get, you know, better degrees, which hopefully lead to better jobs, whatever. As you gain experience, gain merit, you have the ability to warrant more money, but you need to show progress. You need to show results first before you can get that money, and that's the big problem. King of Sphinx says Sherry doesn't consider herself a PMD. Yeah, well, no one can really define it either, but that's beside the point. But anyways, yeah. Let me see here. I'm just trying to catch up on the comments because they're kind of going. Personally, the real problem indies are facing. Oh, Zach Forsman. Personally, I think the real problem indies are facing is making bad movies. I include myself in that. Let's fix that first. And I completely agree. You know, there are some people out there who will say, you know, bring it and they, you know, make it and they will come. But I think that the addition to that is make it well and they will come. You know, and I understand that as someone who reviews movies and is now screening movies, I now have to think about two audiences. I have to think about the audience that's reading reviews, that's going to see a movie that has repercussions for the filmmaker, whether it's monetarily or whether it's audience-driven, whatever. Now I also have to think about films from a programming standpoint, and now I know exactly how film festival curators feel. I know exactly how screening series like curators like Zach and Pericles and David and Karen over at Film Courage. I know exactly how they feel as well when it comes to, you know, I want to show all the movies from all my friends because I feel that, you know, their work should be seen. But I also have to look at it as like, right, but will those movies put butts in seats? And the problem with that is that, you know, even if I love the movie, some won't draw an audience, and some of that comes down to the marketing on behalf of the filmmaker. Some of that comes down to the quality of the film. Some of that comes down to the, you know, star power, quote unquote, if there is any. You know, when I was looking and saying, you know, okay, what movies do I want to program for our first screening series in January at the Palace Theater, January 30th? You can get more details over at screenings.filmsnobbery.com. I looked at two factors. One, what do I feel will draw an audience? Two, or actually three factors. Two, have these films played in this area before? And if so, how long ago or how often have they played? And three, you know, what kind of marketing and promotion will I get from the filmmakers? Because at the end of the day, especially when I'm screening something for a theater, the theater needs to make money. And so I need to go ahead and I need to show them that we have the ability to draw that audience. I need dynamic, good movies. I need good movies to show the audience so that the audience comes and those movies need to be marketed well. So when I picked, you know, What's Up Lovely, I know Gary King. I know he's a marketer. I know that the movie itself is quality. I know that he can bring with him not only the power of the movie, but the power of himself and the stars that are in that movie, and probably bring them to the screening with them so that the audience can interact. Same thing with Misdirection by Doran Kish. Tipper. Misdirection is a very well done movie. It's a short film, about I think it's 30 or 38 minutes or something. But he's also a magician, so he's going to come there. He's coming in from L.A. He's going to do a little magic show. It's going to be cool. A little bit extra marketing power there. Ink has a great following online. Hopefully, we can take some of the power from Ink, bring that over. But it's a there's a lot. It's just it's just so much. There's so much more information that you need to have when you're programming a film, and I think that same information is really important for filmmakers as well, to know when you're creating your movie, what audience am I making this for? Am I making this for a festival audience? Am I making this for a mainstream audience? Where do I want it to show? Do I want it to show on TV? Do I want it to show just on, do I want it to show just at screening series and festival stuff? Anyway, it's just, there's a lot to it, and promoting your movie, and we got a little off topic from the PMD thing, but a lot of that comes down to when you're making a movie, promoting it well, not only promoting it well, but also creating quality films, like Zach Forsman said, focusing on creating quality films. Ed Burns makes quality films. Ed Burns is on the Ted Hope list. I like Ed Burns. I wouldn't call him a brave thinker per se, but I like him. I'm having him on the show at some point. I'm not disparaging him or his career. I think he's done some great work. Nice Guy Johnny looks like a great film. I just don't think that, in the context of that very erratic list as it is, that he belongs in that particular thing.
Why he's on the list, the little description, it's because he did what everyone else does. But he has money and he's famous, so why he didn't have to do it? That's pretty much the thing. He did Nice Guy Johnny all by himself. He self-funded it, self-distributed it. He did all the marketing for it all himself. And he's a brave thinker, even though thousands of other filmmakers do the exact same thing. But because he's Ed Burns, he's on the list. That was my problem with him being on the list. Although I did like that he did it himself, and I've met him before. I've talked to him, and I met him a few years ago, and he was saying how he wanted to do something like that. So I thought it was kind of interesting. Even back then, he was thinking about it. But yeah, just in the context of that list is kind of weird.
Right. I'm just writing a quick thing in the thing here. Ink, I said, there were a couple people talking about Ink saying like they had a hard time getting into it and they couldn't return to it, and I agree with some of them. I feel that Ink does take an open mind, but I thought that visually for the budget, I thought that it was done really well, and I thought that yes, the story has a few holes in it, but I think that if you can get involved in the story, some of those holes are forgivable. Anyways. Yeah, and Mojave44 says, audiences don't give a rat's about indie film thinker lists. And I agree. A lot of this stuff is just ego stroking. A lot of it is, a lot of it also is for a certain group of people. It's a way to get hits on the site. It's a way to kind of get your name included with all these other, people that you want to be or are associated with. Part of the reason why I don't really do lists, I don't like them. I feel that they're generally too exclusive. You always end up leaving somebody out, disappointing someone, offending someone. Not that I'm afraid of offending anyone, but it just seems that there's so much. Lists are just not for me.
You should do a list of the top 10 lists that you hate.
Yeah. I almost was quoting you, Jerry. You say in the chat room, Bob Hawke discovered Ed Burns around the same time he discovered Kevin Smith, and that is correct. But yes, so Jake Settler says, how about a mind map? If you were to do a mind map of everything that goes on in my head, you'd be like watching Inception. Like, you wouldn't know what the hell is going on. And is it real? But anyways, so look, we talked about the two things that, I really had on my brain the past couple of days when I saw them. I was really angry about it. Some of you may agree, some of you may not. I definitely encourage feedback from everybody. I really do, good or bad. It just bothers me there's just a lot of things that bother me, and I happen to have an outlet for it. You know, just like a lot of things, you know, when you're writing a movie or you're doing a movie, directing or whatever, you can take some of the passion that you have for certain subjects and you can infuse that into your films. I'm just infusing my passions into my broadcast. So that is that. And Jerry, did you have anything else you wanted to chat about real quick for the before we say goodnight for the evening?
Our grievances? Yeah, sure. Fuck Target.
Fuck Target? Why are we fucking Target?
I don't know how many of you follow deals, or as Nick pointed out, that I'm a big bargain hunter in terms of films and everything else. And around the holidays, there's tons of sales, Black Friday and stuff. Target had pretty much one of the biggest deals of Black Friday for geeks. They had the entire box set of Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings trilogy on Blu-ray for $8. No, regular price is like $90, and they were selling it for $8. It was a misprint in the ad, but they decided to honor it. They sent a message to all the stores to honor the misprint. Online, they changed it to $8 on Thanksgiving and Black Friday. And then everyone's put in their orders as soon as it came out. Thousands of orders went in. Everyone got confirmation emails. People were told when it would be shipped. Then they sent an email saying, we're sorry, there's going to be a delay in shipments, but you'll all get your orders by Christmas. So everyone was all happy. About 3 days later, after everyone ordered it online, after the sale was over and it was back to regular price in stores, they sent out a mass email telling everybody that because it's no longer in stock, they can't ship it, they can't honor the price. So as they canceled everyone's order, no one got their order. So pretty much thousands of people that bought it, that thought they were getting a great deal, got completely screwed over. And all of these people, they could have went to the store, myself included, could have went and bought it at the store if it was in stock. My local store listed it as being in stock, and they had it. But stores were hiding copies of them in the back room until after the sale. So Target pretended to honor the price, and instead just pissed a ton of people off. There's all petitions against Target. So, if you're running a company, don't follow that PR strategy. That's holiday advice. But it seems like a lot of stores have been canceling major deals lately.
Well, when you say stores, let's
Online stores.
I was going to say, let's put it in perspective.
Kmart recently canceled some Christmas decorations that my mom ordered. It was listed as in stock, and then she got an email that says, "We're sorry, the item we've canceled your order." So then they shipped 2 things, and then the third thing just said canceled, but on her account it said that it was still ordered.
Right.
So it said that they were charging us the full amount. We emailed them, and they said, "Oh, don't worry, we're going to refund you the money. It was canceled." We were like, "Why is it canceled?" They said, "It's no longer in stock." If you go on the Kmart website, you can still buy it and place an order for that item, and then in a couple of days you'll get an email that says that it's not in stock. So all these stores, they're like starting to have these great sales, and it became like the hit thing this year. Tons of stores have been canceling orders, and I don't really understand how these major stores are getting away with it. When you take someone's credit card number and place an order and send a confirmation email, that's kind of saying, we're making a deal. Here's your item. We're going to be shipping it. It's, you purchased this. And like some of these items, like you can buy them at another store for maybe a little bit more or maybe even a little bit less. There are deals like everywhere. You buy your item, after a few days you get an email saying it was canceled, and then now you lost out on the deal everywhere. So like it became like the big thing this year. There's tons of message boards dedicated to it. I won't go into a big rant, which I've already started, and I'm already in a big rant. But like Blu-ray.com is a great site for following these deals and also seeing how these stores have been canceling orders like crazy this year. So it's just kind of been pissing me off. So I figured I'll air my grievance. This is a little more related to film, but although I will say a couple of movies that I ordered for Christmas were canceled.
Yes,
and,
yeah.
Now it all tied back in.
There you go. But I want to. Sorry, I got distracted by the chat room. But yeah, let's see. Okay. Well, Kim, our KGNYC friend here, Kim Garland, she should come on the show. I want her on the show. She will come on the show. A lot of people seem to be begging for the all-nighter type of situation. we didn't really prepare for any type of an all-nighter. If there's anything that you guys or girls or anyone want to talk about, we're here now. I will say I'm freezing my ass off down here in the studio because it's chilly. But if there's more that needs to be said, I'm open to speaking about stuff. But that being said, we have to have the call-ins for that. So, you know, if there's anyone who wants to call in to talk about something, that's fine. But I don't want to sit here and talk to myself the entire time. So that means that, you know, we're leaving it up to the viewers of what we talk about, what we do, and what's going on. So.